a lot of information that's going to be shared, and there may be something that you may have a question about that somebody else may also have a question about that brings clarity, as we are providing a resource that puts tools in your toolbox to help you find the optimal health journey for you when supplementation is required or needed or wanted. So it is my privilege and honor to also be a resource for an amazing community of people who have a passion for health, a passion to help build stronger families, stronger communities, where together we build a stronger world. So if you were invited by somebody specific, make sure that you get back with them. They took the time and cared enough to share this program with you because they knew you were going to find value in the information that could possibly touch home with you when it comes to your own well-being or the well-being of somebody else that you know. So without further ado, I would like to bring to the screen with me the one, the only, Steve Wallach, oldest son of Dr. Joel Wallach, the founder of Youngevity, who has turned it all over to his son, who I think we're in really good hands, folks, because not only is Steve good business sense, but he's got an education in pre-med, so he's got a little bit of, training to know what he's doing when it comes to the formulations and what to offer and the things that are going to benefit us. So hello, Steve. Welcome to Daily with Doc.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. And I thank you for taking time out of your schedule, because I know that where you're at in life and busy and going back and forth and making sure that everything is going well in the business and in life, that you're taking some time for us. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
So, Steve, one thing we didn't mention last time in part one is you actually do have a college education. This just wasn't just handed over to you and said, okay, make it work. Share a
Right.
little bit about, how your training may have done a little bit of preparing you for this, or may have chosen you or given you the idea to say, well, maybe that wasn't the way I wanted to go, but still able to use the education you received.
Absolutely. So I put my 57 years of education and experience of being around my father way above my college formal science education and training, believe me. It was interesting because growing up with my father, when I chose the path of traditional professional medicine. I didn't become a doctor, so I want to be clear on that. But that was the path I was going down, was actually pre-med. My end goal was to become a dentist, believe it or not. And so, but pre-med is pre-med is pre-med. And so whether your end goal is to become a dentist or a cardiologist, pre-med is the exact same set of courses. It's the undergrad. And so um, growing up with my father, I would talk to my professors and have the conversation about nutrition, especially back then. This would have been in the 80s and or 90s, 80s, yeah, 80s, sorry, late 80s, and so they didn't want to talk about nutrition. That was not in their wheelhouse. So you've heard, I've heard, we've anybody on this stream has probably heard that professionals, health professionals in traditional health professional fields tend to get little to no nutritional training. It's absolutely true. I can attest to it personally. That is the exact experience I personally had as well. And so, yes, you could take nutritional courses if you wanted to, but not only was it not encouraged, it was discouraged because that wasn't part of the curriculum. Part of the curriculum to be a doctor back then or for pre-med was things like microbiology, which I loved. I took way more microbiology than I was required to. I took it as electives, scientific electives, additional courses, because I found it fascinating. But it had nothing to do with directly with nutrition. And so, you can apply epigenetics to all of those things, but that wasn't in the training either. They didn't do that at all. But yes, I do have a traditional college science background as well, because I think my aptitude growing up with my father was absolutely down the science path, animals, and I thought possibly human medicine was a path for me. And what happened was, looking to be a dentist, what I liked about the thought of becoming a dentist was you could help people in a very short period of time. And so it was something that was not typically a long-term treatment plan to a positive outcome. And so that's what appealed to me. And so I wound up working chairside for a dentist. I did all the lab work for a busy dental office for an extended period of time through college. And so that was all on the job training I also got. And I found it interesting, fascinating at times even. But what happened was, as this developed, as working with my father was much more appealing to me, and working with my father in health and nutrition, and this happened to Michelle as well. She actually was working at a hospital with 5 of the top cardiologists. She was in the office staff, but she was working with 5 cardiologists. They were very prestigious cardiologists in the Portland, Oregon area. And so she would talk to them about nutrition as well. And again, in practical experience, that wasn't really their thing. And so, it was interesting. And who were we? I mean, at that time, we were 20-year-olds. And so, talking to professors or prestigious cardiologists, none of them wanted to hear about nutrition. But what changed, especially for Michelle, was back then we had the answering machine, and the answering machine with the little micro cassette tapes, right? And so people would call and they would leave unsolicited testimonials about the products that my father had formulated that they were using, ordering more. And so when you're hearing people repeatedly leave messages saying, I need more products, I'm seeing this benefit, I'm seeing that benefit, feeling better, I'm doing better. That was the impetus for Michelle and myself to not only build our own business around health and wellness, but as that all developed, we turned our attention to that full time. And then we wound up moving to California, which was going to be temporary back in 1996. And so we were on our way to being full-time distributors in Scottsdale, Arizona back then. We diverted our time and attention to Southern California because my father was out lecturing. Dr. Milan was back in college at UCSD, I believe, getting an additional medical degree. She has a bunch. And so she's very accomplished. And so we wound up turning our time and attention to helping set up the initial office, actually, for Dr. Milan and my father, Dr. Wallach, in Bonita, California. And that was a detour. We believed it was a detour for Michelle and myself. And we had our oldest son, Jonathan, by that point. He was, I think, 1 or 2. And so that's how that all happened. But that was the history. And I do use, from a practical standpoint, a lot of the things I did learn at Portland State University and OHSU, and on the job working for the dentists in terms of things of the scientific nature in calculations, for one, my knowledge and background in biology and chemistry in particular, and especially in the last few years, microbiology. But microbiology is a big part of supplement formulation because what you're doing, you're also micro testing every product all the time, right? And so the first and foremost tenet of producing our products is safety. And microbiology is a huge part of the safety of our products, I believe, because you're testing for those microbes all the time, and to ensure that the products aren't contaminated with anything from biological to elemental or environmental.
So you were talking electives, nutrition being an elective. Do you think maybe that people look at nutrition and think, oh, that's just too simple, it's not important? Or, there's government regulators that regulate what goes on the shelf, that everything must be safe. We don't really need to worry about that. Why do you think nutrition is just not one of those electives that more people go to?
Well, my father has lectured on this forever, and I agree with him on most things, and I certainly agree with him on this, and that is that nutrition isn't sexy to the pharmaceutical world, to the medical profession, to doctors. They're not trained on it. It's not, it's just not part of their training, and it's not part of their wheelhouse. And so it really is a grassroots sort of initiative and movement, and has been for a long time. But what's happened is doctors, traditional doctors, have had to take notice because the consumer, their consumer patients, uh, insist on it. And so they've had to kind of become knowledgeable and things like that. What I've seen, especially in the last 20 years, I would say, and more so even in the last 10, is that traditional doctors are more and more and more becoming interested in it because they're tired and what's the word I'm looking for? They're uh, not disgruntled, but dismayed maybe by the traditional medical profession sort of machine. And so they're seeing people feel better with nutrition. And so you're seeing more and more traditional medical doctors and health professionals wanting to do things like med spas, where they're combining traditional and complementary health and nutritional aspects and modalities to overall health, holistic health, which is not a new thing, but it's interesting that it's becoming sort of in vogue. And so, especially among some. And so you're seeing that more and more, I would say, among traditional health professionals as well. And you're also seeing things like the A4M series, where doctors are getting their CAM certificates, the complementary and alternative medicine certificates. It's like they're sort of a pseudo naturopathic doctor and an MD. And so, I follow MDs like Dr. Peter Diamandis, who's an engineer and a medical doctor. I swear he is quoting my father's stuff on Instagram, for instance. Every medical and longevity quote seems like it came right out of Dead Doctors Don't Lie, or my father's lectures. And so you're seeing Dr. Oz, a cardiologist, a medical doctor, cardiologist, hit show, embraced by Oprah, pretty much quoting my father's nutritional history. So things have changed, but back in the late 80s, I can tell you it was like the ice age for nutrition in the health profession world. Not their thing, not of interest. And my father found this when he discovered that first case of naturally occurring cystic fibrosis in a non-human, in the infant monkey. Nobody cared about nutrition. In fact, they were excited about the discovery. Worldwide press releases. I have many of the articles here in Chula Vista on the walls and in my files. But when he went public that he believed it to be nutrition or nutritionally influenced or induced, which became epigenetics, they fired him, because I believe that it was because nutritional modalities and nutritional research, there was no money for nutritional research. You couldn't get a grant. And my father found that out as well, because he set out to do that. And after that discovery, and if it's, in relation to animals and animal nutrition, maybe. But when it comes to human nutrition, the food companies, that's their wheelhouse. The FDA, that's their wheelhouse. Let them do their thing is the philosophy, I think. And I can tell you that that is a bad plan.
I am getting text messages all the time, video clips sharing information and they say they support what Dr. Wallach is saying too, but they're saying it's their own findings.
My
They're
father said that would happen. I was a teenager, and my father said that would happen. He said, "What happens?" And he gets criticism for criticizing medical doctors. Now he's married to Dr. Milan, who's a medical doctor, and he points that out to people. She's a microsurgeon, trained other microsurgeons at Harvard, And so again, very, very accomplished. And he is a doctor with multiple, scientific and health professional degrees and multiple licenses. And so he's qualified to criticize, I would say. But people criticize him for being critical of, the medical profession and the medical world. But he told me, I remember like it was yesterday, I was a teenager, and he said it will be 100 years before they come to agree with my findings on cystic fibrosis and nutrition, which I don't think it's taken that long because they're pretty much there, like we just described with Dr. Peter Diamandis and Dr. Oz and others. But he told me it would take 100 years, and when they did, they would take it as their own. He told me that back then, and he was exactly right.
Yeah, and some of the videos and clips that I received, they're coming from around the world. I mean, I've received them from Australia. I've received one just recently from a doctor that's actually in the Middle East, saying things that Dr. Wallach has been saying forever. And that helps.
Imitation lectures styled after my father's lectures with bullet point by bullet point, his research being presented as if it was somebody else's. I've seen it happen.
That's crazy. But the fact that people are coming around, we're still going to have healthier communities and a healthier world.
Father, with the health claim petitions and things like that, it's always been about getting the information out first and foremost. So, they say imitation is the highest form of flattery, or whatever that saying is, right? And so, I'm sure it irks him. It irks me that they do that. But first and foremost, it is about getting the information out. That is the mission.
Yeah, absolutely. But I take it upon myself, and I know my co-hosts as well, is we want to get this message out from the man who actually made these discoveries, did the research, and get it out there so people know and have the opportunity to learn where credit really should be due.
Absolutely. And, I tell people all the time, if you don't have Let's Play Doctor, the book, on your bookshelf, you are remiss to yourself, to your friends, to your family. And when people say, well, they ask me a question about a product or a nutrient or what it's good for, or, well, I'm trying to reach Dr. Wallach and I have a question. There's so much in this book. The challenge with this book is that there's so much in it, is that not one thing, it's not about one thing, goes into great detail. So it's a great reference book as a starting point. If you have a question, if you're wondering about a nutrient or a health condition or whatever, that book has so much in it. It gives you a great starting point to then research things further to get the answers. It gives you a succinct answer in most instances. So it's a great reference book from that standpoint. But I would say that is where you should start, and then research it further and more from there. But everybody should have that book.
Well, these were my very two first books that I purchased. Let's Play Doctor, and because I was an herbalist, I was very interested in this one, Let's Play Herbal Doctor. So, folks, these are two books you really want to get. You can get them at drjwallach.com. That is drjwallach.com. But better yet, call Wellness Publications at their office. And I even have that number here available, 800-755-4656. So we want to make sure that we get in the hands of people information and resources that they can continually use, not just read through once or read the first 3 pages and then never pick it up again. Because I use this more than I use a medical reference. I mean, the medical reference basically tells me symptoms, but Dr. Wallach has told us and shown us over and over that there is over 600 different conditions that are associated with nutrient deficiencies. So let's just go to the root cause instead of mask the symptoms, right?
Absolutely. when Michelle and I were distributors of the company before this company existed, we had the books and back then cassette tapes and things, and we received an order in the mail. It was from a huge company. If I said the name, which I'm not going to, everybody on the call would know the company. And so it's a household name, and their science group bought my father's set of books back then, and I never cashed the check. Sent the books, but I never cashed the check because I was back then. You really didn't have easy access to color printers and things like that, so I didn't think about duplicating or copying, photocopying the check, and it was a colorful check. But a very, very big company in the health and wellness space bought his books, and they bought them from Michelle and me. And so I was so impressed with, one, that they did that, and two, the check in their name and stuff, that I kept it, and I still have it to this day somewhere. But I mean, this is at a time that the internet didn't even exist, or if it did, nobody had it. And so this would have been again in the early 90s, and so this is before hundreds of millions of copies were out there of the books and tapes and things. And so to me, that was like kind of an aha moment that these other companies and people are actually taking notice. And so that was cool.
Oh, that's very cool. Whenever you have, an entity that you know very well wanting to buy your dad's books.
Yeah, if they called and said, "Hey, could you send us a set?" we would have, absolutely. But they bought them.
Right. Wow. Well, I love the fact that his books are available. They're available both in hard copies. Some of them are in audio. Some of them are in digital downloads. So we're working on making sure that people are getting the information where they get information from.
One of them is in the Smithsonian Institute to this day.
And you can still go see it.
You can actually, I've had people go request to see it, and they've been able to see it.
Yes, I'm excited to my next trip to that area to go visit the Smithsonian and find it. I want to take a picture. I absolutely think that's fantastic. And there's not many people that can say the person that has, or for you, Steve, you're the son of somebody who has a book in the Smithsonian Institute.
Well, I grew up with that book. I grew up with it being written by my dad, and every time we moved, basically he would have the chapters or parts of chapters in typewriter paper in stacks, and it would get reset out every time we moved. And back then he was working for zoos and research facilities, and so we would move, not super frequently, but much more frequently than you might think. And so that book would get reset. For 20 years he wrote that book. It took him 20 years.
Wow. He definitely, when he has his mind set on something, there's very little waver in that. And that's, I think that's very admirable.
He is committed.
Yes, absolutely. Well, share with us a little bit. We were talking about kind of the manufacturing process last time and going into not compromising on the ingredients of what goes into the products. We do have a couple questions that are product specific and wanting to know about the I-26, the ultimate microbiome, and wanting to know, tell us a little bit about those two products, if you can, if you would. I know you can, but if you would.
So I-26 has a tremendous amount of research, published articles and things, research studies behind it, and it's the hyperimmune egg powder. Now we use it in multiple products, but I-26 is one of the greatest immune boosting and immune supporting ingredients, and then it becomes part of a product, and then the product contains that as an ingredient, is how it's typically used in our products. The 26 is because it has to do with 26 different biomarkers that are induced, essentially, or introduced, again, when it comes to microbiology, this is that product essentially. And so things that are introduced to live chickens, the eggs then have built up immunity as part of the creation. And then what happens is the yolks are separated, processed, and so you have that immune response built into the egg powder. That's, in a nutshell how that product works. But it has a tremendous amount of science behind it. Tens of millions of dollars of research have gone into developing and researching that product and that ingredient. And so it's fantastic. We really like it, and we like using it in several of our products, and we're including it in more products. We just came out with a new pet product, Perpetual Plus, that includes it. And so your dogs and cats can wind up getting not only their vitamins and minerals, but I-26, the hyperimmune egg powder, in the supplement. As far as microbiome, both of these products actually, I-26 and the microbiome, so I-26 including products or products that include I-26, and then microbiome as a product, not an ingredient, includes I-26 as one of the ingredients, for example, but it's designed to specifically address the microbiome and healthy gut flora. So you're talking about prebiotics, probiotics, which people typically hear probiotics and they understand that to a degree. So if you think yogurt, you're thinking probiotics. That's the healthy part of yogurt, is that healthy flora or bacteria to help refluoridate essentially your intestines. And so it's the bacteria and the probiotics or microbiotics that are the beneficial part of digestion, for instance. All those little microorganisms are helping your body. They're friendly. Now, invasive and bad bacteria can also wind up getting involved in your intestines and things. But one of the things that you're looking to do with healthy digestive support is push those bad bacteria and pathogens out. And so one of the things when you're talking about health and wellness in that area, if you can keep a healthy microbiome with healthy flora, healthy bacteria through prebiotics, adding healthy probiotics, which are the microorganisms, and postbiotics, all three of those work together as types of ingredients or nutrients to make sure that you're supporting a healthy microbiome. And so you're seeing more and more studies come out, especially recently, where the gut, and you've heard this gut-brain connection, for instance, or gut-mood connection, gut overall health connection. And so what they're finding is, and this kind of ties, I'd say it directly ties into epigenetics as well, because what you're doing is making sure your digestion is healthy, which affects in a positive outcome or a positive way, if it's healthy, if your gut is healthy, to overall health. And so it ties back into holistic health, ties back into epigenetics. So I know those are long answers about products and ingredients, but that's, there's a lot to those products and ingredients. And I think, if I just heard a talk by pharmacist Ben, and he was talking about this very thing, as far as, just about anything you can trace from a health condition that you're dealing with probably starts in the gut. There's probably an issue that you need to address if you have a chronic health challenge of some sort.
So from the microbiology part of it, tell us, what's the difference between a bacteria and a pathogen?
So a pathogen can be anything. So a pathogen can be a virus, a bacteria. It is the invading, typically bad things. So a pathogen is something that you want to get rid of or not allow to take hold to begin with in terms of microbiology.
All right. And because I remember reading or watching a video talking about the I-26, and I think there was 16 different pathogens that it was instrumental in addressing. So I know we need to have more education, and I'm working on bringing Dr. Winkle, who is the doctor that brought the I-26 products to Youngevity on the show to give us a full blown out, this is what it is and what it can do for the body, or,
Dr. Conaway is very good in that regard as well. So
yes.
keep her in mind also.
Oh, absolutely. We have Dr. Conway scheduled in the next couple weeks, and we'll be having her as a regular. And she is absolutely fantabulous. Love her. And then a couple more products that include the I-26. There's the Immune FX, which is amazing flavor. Pineapple, I absolutely love it. We've got the, like you said, the Perpetual Plus for our pets. Now, is that for dogs and cats, or primarily dogs?
It's a tablet, and so it's not a super hard tablet. It's like a big vitamin C tablet. And so cats aren't going to chew it, but you can use it for cats. You can use it for tropical birds. They will chew it. But if you break it for a cat and kind of crumple it up in a cat's wet food, for instance, they absolutely eat it. It's from a flavor standpoint, they like it. From a texture standpoint, they're not thrilled with it. But dogs absolutely love it.
Awesome. And then the I-26 itself comes in a powder, which you can just mix with any type of cold liquid. The capsules, you can take the capsules without having any flavor at all, which the powder itself, it reminds me of the flavor of like an eclair pastry that I don't eat anymore, but that shell. So it's got a nice, pleasant taste. And then, of course, Dr. Wallach.
It's a good tasting. It's actually a good tasting product. It's not something that people find offensive typically from a taste standpoint at all.
Right. It's not overly sweet. It's not bitter. It has this nice, pleasant taste. And then your father absolutely loves the I-26 chewables in the French vanilla flavor. And it also comes in banana coconut. So folks, there's a lot of things that you can do or that's available that can help support or have the possibility of, how do I say this compliant wise, for creating that gut whole environment that is best for absorbing and utilizing the nutrients within that you're putting in your mouth. So of course it's not a one product. You take this, it's going to, make the world change, because the 90 essential nutrients is in fact the foundation of the nutrients that the body needs each and every day. And that's been proven many times, that there are nutrients that the body can't survive without. That's why they're called essential, right?
That's absolutely true, 100%.
All right. Now, do you know, because there's a continuation to this question, is it okay to take one scoop of each of them each day separately? Or is there a maximum dose of either the I-26 by itself or the microbiome?
So there's not anything in either one of those that you're going to create an overdose type situation. Keep in mind, our products are designed that in a way that these are healthy, natural ingredients. Typically, if you overdo something, you're going to get, upset stomach or something. So, with rare exception, our products aren't going to, even if you way overdo it, create a short-term, issue, medical issue or something like that. That isn't how these products are formulated, designed, or work. So to answer the question more directly, things like the I-26, I think you could take pretty much as much of it as you wanted to, within some reason, because what it is egg powder essentially, but it's special because of how it's created and what they do to it in the exposure to those pathogens aspect of the production. But there aren't live pathogens in it. It's the opposite. There's actually, the immune response antibodies are in the product, not the pathogens. And so when it comes to if you think about it, how many eggs a day can you eat? Well, my father talks about recommending 25. So, you have a long way to go to even reach that. And that's, completely safe. And most people will not eat 25 eggs a day. And most people won't consume 25 doses of I-26 a day either, but you could. As far as microbiome, I don't think you'd want to take that much of it. It's a product that tastes pretty good, I think, in just water. Certainly add it to your I-26 shake or Fit Shake or something like that. But a couple 3 doses a day is going to be plenty for what you're wanting to do with it anyway. You're not going to want to live off of microbiome as a meal replacement or something like that.
I just do one scoop and about 6 to 8 ounces of water, drink it down. And
one of the things that, and it's anecdotal, but I certainly hear it and see it when people haven't been taking microbiome, but then they do, it gets rid of that bloating feel, and it's that bacteria going to work, doing what it's supposed to do. And that also tells you, and my father talks about this in his lectures, if that is a symptom, right, of a poor gut health, is bloating, and gas and stuff. And so the microbiome, you'll notice a difference if you haven't been taking it pretty quickly, like in a day or two, a dose or two. And so you'll notice a difference, and it gets better from there. But it's something that you don't need to like take a lot of to get the benefit. Take it as directed, and you'll get the benefit.
Removing the bloating, absolutely. I can testify to that it does a great job. I have some clients that have even said that they use it as the next day after they drank too much, takes care of the hangover. I'm like, okay, whatever works for you.
One of the things that, I don't need it for that, but the SOD in Pollen Burst, and this is the new Pollen Burst, which tastes amazing. The SOD in particular, plus coupled with hydration, because you're getting extra water, is fantastic for not only that, but dehydration.
And I was able to order and picking up tomorrow the brand new strawberry acai flavor, which is absolutely yummy. There's no aftertaste. It's not too sweet. It's just great. I mean, that's not fair that you're drinking it right now and I'm all out of my samples. But folks, you want to make sure that you get that as well, the Pollen Burst. And since we're talking about it, it gives the SOD, which is standard oxide dismutase, which is like antioxidants, right?
Right. So the SOD is superoxide dismutase. It's one of the strongest antioxidants, and most people have heard the name or the term glutathione, which is like the sister or the twin antioxidant that the body naturally produces to SOD. Those two are the two strongest antioxidants the body produces. But as you age, they decline. Production naturally declines. And so by taking SOD, your body can actually make glutathione out of that SOD. So you get the best of both worlds. And you'll notice a difference, again, if you're not used to taking that product, you'll notice a difference in the inflammatory response. And how you'll notice that is your clothes will fit looser. So if you take microbiome and Pollen Burst with the SOD, I can't guarantee it, but I would assure you that your clothes will fit looser, your jewelry will fit looser if you wear jewelry. I mean, my wedding ring, I can tell the difference if I'm working out or eat something I shouldn't, and then take Pollen Burst. It just shrinks that inflammation right out of your muscles, your bones, your aches and aches and pains and joints and things. And so it has that anti-inflammatory type nutritional response from the SOD. So you'll just notice that. But noticing that, you also know it's doing all the good stuff too that it's designed to do.
And I like to put a splash of plain plant-derived minerals in my pollen burst.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing SOD does, Rebecca, is it's a natural sun protectant. And so, if you're outside and you're concerned about just the ravages of UV light on your skin, SOD is one of the best, most powerful anti-aging supplements or ingredients that exists, and your body naturally produces it, and again, declines with age. And so, when you think about things like saggy skin or wrinkles and things or thin skin, SOD is one of those fantastic skincare ingredients. In fact, there's a popular infomercial with a celebrity that's known for cosmetic anti-aging, and she talks about the secret ingredient by the French doctor, and it's a skincare item. Now, she at one time talked without, she was not a paid endorser, about how great pollen burst is because of the SOD. It's the same ingredient that they tell you is a secret. I'm gonna tell you what her secret is. It's SOD, and so we have it in pollen burst in a large amount. And so internally and externally, it's a fantastic anti-aging ingredient.
Well, I'm going to be drinking more of it. Absolutely. Especially with beautiful days like this. I think it's supposed to hit 84 and it's November where other places have snow. Let's drink some more pollen burst. Um, so we have another question, and this is going back to microbiome that just came in. And the question is, how does the probiotics and microbiome get past the stomach acid?
So there is so much science and research in this field, in this area. We use a stabilized ingredient that is probiotic rich. So I mean, the probiotics are stabilized in the ingredient to survive, to get past the stomach acid. And so that is how the production is that's how it's made in production.
All right. So because it's in a stabilized product within it, ingredient, that's how it gets passed.
That's one of the challenges with yogurt, because in yogurt you're dealing with live bacteria, and most of them do not get past the stomach because the stomach acid destroys them. And so the goal is to get them past the stomach into the digestive tract, where they actually will live for a while and do what they do. And so that's why it's a benefit to actually take something like microbiome, where it's designed into the product.
Well, and it's also designed into the Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0.
Yes, and things like root beer belly and kids sprinkles, but in Flora FX, Probacillus is another one. But again, in terms of microbiome, it has all the other things to it, included in it as well. So it's not only the probiotics, it's the prebiotics, postbiotics, things like I-26 as well. So it's a whole formulation.
So you mentioned prebiotics, probiotics, postbiotics. Share with those who don't know what those three things are, what they do, how they work in conjunction with each other to benefit the digestive system.
So prebiotics typically are things like soluble plant fiber, because what you're doing is you're actually giving the food to the probiotics. Probiotics are the microorganisms themselves. They're the whatever you want to call them, but they are the bacteria, the healthy bacteria. And then postbiotics help with the environment to make it conducive for the probiotics to actually grow and thrive. So most supplements around probiotics tend to include probiotics. So it's actually kind of novel and new, where you're getting prebiotics with the probiotics and the postbiotics. So all three phases to really help with healthy gut flora.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing and explaining that to us. And the next question has to do with people often asking about too much nutrition, like selenium and vitamins given in the products, and highly exceeding the RDA. So I know what pharmacist Ben says about RDA, and that's ridiculously deficient always, or abundant. I can't remember the A, but
But always,
ridiculously
you know.
deficient. So what is your
Well, the RDA,
response?
sure. The RDA is designed by the FDA. To even get to an RDA, you have to have significant scientific agreement to even establish the RDA. And they also change it, by the way. So we deal with this with our labels. Every few years, the FDA will change things. Usually they increase the RDA, but not always. And so you're always playing with that in terms of the labels and trying to comply from a regulatory standpoint to their RDA. So there's DV, daily value, RDA, same, pretty much interchangeable. Every country sets a different level as well. So it's not worldwide exclusive, but and these are not hard and fast numbers. Things like well, some nutrients wind up arsenic, for instance. It's one of those that many health professionals believe, myself included, that organic arsenic is actually essential and beneficial, but the scientific agreement doesn't exist yet. And so many scientists believe that it's essential, but they disagree on the amount. And so then no RDA gets set. But so, this is a whole interesting world of politics, nutritional politics, really. But as far as too much, so selenium is one of those interesting nutrients like water or oxygen. Not enough is a bad situation for your health. Too much can be a bad situation for your health. Too much oxygen, too much water, either of those is deadly, by the way. So selenium, by the time you wind up with too much, you're going to be nauseous and sick to your stomach. You're talking about a lot by comparison to what is in our supplements. What you want in that sweet spot is 200 to 300 micrograms per day. You have to be careful with selenium in terms of those mcgs versus mgs, or as opposed to like g's. And so, this is all based on the metric system. But micrograms are 1/1000th of a gram, which is 1/1000th of a kilogram, or a gram, and then 1,000, a gram is 1/1000th of a kilogram, for example. And so this is all things that not only our manufacturers have checks and balances, we have checks and balances to ensure that mistakes aren't made. But selenium is not an ingredient you hear that, oh my gosh, you could take too much and it can be harmful. Absolutely, that is true. But you're talking about a lot. You're talking about grams over a period of time, and you're going to know there's an issue if that were to happen. One, we would know it before it happened. And two, if you wind up being exposed to too much of something like that, you'll feel it. And so, your body actually has mechanisms to make sure that you're not going to take so much that it's severely harmful. The one of the sets of books I have, Rebecca, right here on my bookshelf, is a series of books published by the Institutes of Medicine. And so they go into what is of significant scientific agreement in many, many nutrients. And so when I get, the reference of take this for that, I will also go into those books and quote from those books if it's, an answer that I want to give a really expanded answer on. And things like the no observed adverse event level, NOL is what it's called, or the acronym, of a particular nutrient. It tells you what the UL is, the upper limit. It tells you what happens if somebody is exposed. And again, you're dealing with bell-shaped curves. Not everybody's the same, but in general science, you're dealing with things that if somebody is exposed to this particular type of nutrient or this nutrient, whether it be a vitamin, amino acid, mineral, things like that, or even herbal ingredients in some cases, it explains what the first side effects, what are considered negative side effects are. And with selenium, the negative side effects are you have garlic breath and brittle fingernails. So that's you're gonna, like I said, you'll start experiencing things if you're taking too much selenium, but you're not talking about micrograms being too much. You're talking about milligrams for an extended period of time. So
Yeah, and for those of you that are not familiar with the metric system, you've got grams, kilograms being 1,000 grams. Then you have milligrams, which are smaller than grams, and micrograms, which are even smaller quantity volume than that. So it's very important when you're looking at the grams, milligrams, micrograms to pay attention which one it is.
well, especially by nutrient, right? So calcium, if you're talking about micrograms, that's nothing. I mean,
Right.
it's tiny because
That's
you're dealing with, grams of calcium is, the RDA even. And so, if you're an adult, you're looking at 1.2 grams or 1,200 milligrams of elemental calcium content is the RDA for the, active adults. And so by comparison, things like selenium you're talking about, micrograms, right? And then you get into the IUs, the international units, things like vitamins, vitamin D, for instance, and even internationally, by the way, they use micrograms to convert to IUs, which isn't a direct conversion. So, you're dealing with all of this, but, as a consumer, just pay attention to the labels, understand that, we take care of all of this really for you. And when it comes to, what my father recommends, I always defer to that because he is the expert. I've had a very fortunate opportunity to work so close with not only him, but people like Dr. Schrauzer, who was the world's foremost expert on selenium. By the way, he established the Trace Element Institute and the Trace Element Journal, and was the head of chemistry and biochemistry of UCSD for 35 years. I mean, it's just an amazing person. It would be like getting to personally know Linus Pauling and talk about vitamin C, at the drop of a hat anytime you want it. And so, I've spent, time every single week with Dr. Schrauzer for decades, and one of the smartest people in terms of nutritional science that the world has ever seen. And again, I have, because of my father, access and the privilege of working with so many people like that.
Well, I love the fact that you've had that experience. Your father has had that experience. And the scientific board that you have put together for Youngevity, these products are not just thrown together, little this, little that. It's like scientifically, I mean, science is into it completely in making sure that everything is formulated, the things work together and absorbable. I think absorbability is one of the most important things, which then leads me to my next question. So it's Linton is saying it seems it's possible to consume the products and go through your body, not into the cells if your cells are insulin intolerant, even though urine changes color and absorbs the product, but some may not get the full benefit due to a cellular problem. Is there something that's in the formulas that could help with that? I know if our cells are deficient, they're not going to be absorbing as
Right.
well.
And so that word efficient is key though. And so if your cells aren't absorbing anything, you're now dead. And so because you have to absorb something to remain alive. So you're getting something. And so, the idea is to build it from there. So if there's an inefficiency in metabolism, absorption, that's what needs to be addressed first. And this is why it's so critical to understand the 12 bad foods, for instance, good foods. But our products are all designed, and this goes absolutely into every product we produce, is we have absorbability in mind. And so in formulating products. And so absorbability is the precursor to absorption, because if you have poor absorbability, absorption is going to be negatively affected. If you have poor absorption, you can have the best absorbability in the world, it's going to be negatively affected. So that's what you want to always address, knowing our products are made for maximum absorbability, you want to address the absorption, which starts in the gut. And so a healthy gut is absolutely critical. And then when it comes to other things that are hormonally induced or compromised, like insulin resistance, then you're addressing things upstream that have a positive benefit or impact downstream, and that's how you address that. It's not something that happens immediately, because you're addressing a system that is malfunctioning, right? And so you're
Mhm.
looking upstream to create a positive outcome downstream.
Yeah, and it absolutely does create a positive outcome downstream. I mean, insulin resistance was something that I fought very hard.
Well, it's like the
And
metabolic syndrome. You have to break the cycle, and it's like sugar addiction. You have to break the cycle, and you're going to feel, people that consume too much sugar and then stop, or too much caffeine and stop. I mean, your body wants to it doesn't know why, but it gravitates back to those types of addictions, and so you have to break that cycle, and you're going to feel bad in the short term and then great downstream, because you have to break that cycle. It's the same with insulin resistance. You're breaking a cycle.
well, and one thing that I absolutely love is I was working on bone and joint issues, and I was able to break those cycles of all those other things that I had as labels in my medical file. I
Yep.
just, the
Well,
body's amazing.
it is. And I tell people this all the time, and it's like, that makes so much sense. The body is designed, it's created by design to be healthy. And so when people feel they have a health challenge or a chronic health issue, you know, we aren't necessarily, we actually aren't addressing the health issue. We're addressing the body. The body addresses the health issue. And so, there's something called homeostasis. Again, simple medical term, or biological, biology, I guess, biological term, which is normal. And so homeostasis, your body, every system in your body is designed to maintain homeostasis, which is all systems normal. And so it always wants to go back to that factory reset, which is homeostasis. And so if you're too hot, your body has a mechanism to cool yourself down. If you're too cold, your body has a mechanism to warm yourself up. If your heartbeat is too fast, your body has a system to slow it down. And it's the same with nutrition and nutrients in your bloodstream. And your body operates on minerals, actually. And so you have to have a proper balance of sodium and potassium and calcium circulating in your blood. And so your body, through that homeostasis set of systems, tries to constantly normalize that. So if you give your body the raw materials, deficiencies disrupt all of that. So you want to address the deficiencies to give the body the raw materials that it needs to rebuild itself. And that's why sleep is so critical as well, because that's how and when your body most uses those nutrients to rest, relax, and rebuild itself.
And that's where the 90 essential nutrients come in.
Yep,
People's like,
absolutely. That is the
that's
raw
a lot.
material.
Yeah. That people think that that's a lot, but folks, we're not made out of.
Right? It sounds 90, but there's even more beneficial nutrients. And the human body, designed by creation, is by design made to utilize more than 90 nutrients. I get people that ask sometimes, well, shouldn't we take this one nutrient apart from that other one nutrient? I can assure you that when we were created, we were not created to take one nutrient at a time. I assure you, we were not. That is not how the human body works.
No, definitely not. Well, let's try to squeeze in one more question if you have time.
Mhm.
So Rod would like to know which is better, or which should you take more of or first if you had a digestive issue and you were looking at microbiome, enzymes, or I-26.
So I would gravitate, based on that question, to the microbiome. And so you have natural things like enzymes in the product as well. Now, if you dig into that question a little bit more, there may be more to it. But establishing, a healthy flora and healthy microbiome may address the other issues anyway. And so I would start there. Enzymes tend to be super beneficial in helping break down proteins in particular, whether they're plant or animal proteins. And so it helps the body absorb those proteins. And that's why it's important. So where people wind up either wanting enzymes or being told they need enzymes, and enzymes are good, so don't get me wrong. It tends to be because there's a deficiency or a malfunction of the digestive system. And so you still want to address the digestive system. Enzymes absolutely can be helpful if you, for whatever reason, have a chronic malfunctioning digestive system. And so you're feeling like when you consume certain foods, you're having a hard time digesting those. So gas, bloating, things like that. And so it can address that absolutely. And then there are issues where if you have a defective, deficient, defunct organ or something missing, like your gallbladder, you may need to chronically take enzymes to address that, because you're replacing something the body used to be able to do and now can't.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that, Steve. And thank you again for taking time. I know that we're going to schedule another time to continue this conversation. I think there was a lot of valuable information about history and product and what goes into the product that we can now share with other people, hearing straight from the CEO of Youngevity, who is the oldest son of our own Dr. Joel Wallach, who, folks, he's doing fine. I get messages all the time, Steve. Is he okay? Is he in the hospital? No, he's never been in the hospital. He's fine. He just needed a break, right? I mean, you've been with him and he's been lecturing for decades. Has he ever had a vacation?
Not not in my adult life, no. And he's somebody that works really, really hard. And I can tell you that I can't keep up with him even today, and he's going on 84. And so that's something, anybody that's traveled with him will have the same story, is that when he travels, he wears everybody else out. And it's just he's that dedicated, that committed to the mission, and he's that driven. And so I've told everybody that's asked me in the last week or two as well, you get him on the phone and he's as cantankerous as ever. So
Yes. Yes, he is. Well, thank you again so much, Steve. We appreciate you very much. And also,
we
Michelle,
appreciate you as well.
well, thank you. And it's been an honor, absolutely honor, to be able to continue this program. And Dr. Wallach says he's going to be back. So, like you said, yeah, he calls me. He's like, he's ready. I'm like, okay, you got to talk to your son first. But anyways, thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Steve, for joining us here on A Daily with Doc and Becca today with CEO Steve Wallach. We will be back tomorrow with pharmacist Ben Fuchs. So don't forget to set your alarm and timer, as we were having Fridays or Pharmacist Fridays with pharmacist Ben Fuchs and myself, where we're going to be bringing more information that puts a resource of tools in your toolbox so that you also can choose more wisely things that are going to be beneficial to you on your health journey. If I could get my co-hosts up with me, and we were on fire today. So many questions. I'm seeing there's 46 new messages that I didn't even get to scroll through as we're going through the program today. And I want to just do a shout out and a thank you to my co-hosts, as I could not do this without them. They are absolutely fantastic. I absolutely appreciate them. And there we go. Get the right view up. We have Ruth Ellen Sanchez, my executive production manager, who helps keep us all organized and make sure everything is working right on her end and lets me know when it's not so I can make corrections if I can. We have the assistant to the executive production manager, AJ, who is helping us get this stream out and loaded on multiple different platforms. I think we're on 17 different platforms, and we're getting ready to break out into a whole new media realm, folks. Super excited about that. And we have Marilyn, who is putting dictation, and I see that Phyllis also today, as we have both two very amazing typists with us, putting information into the chat, which is one of the biggest benefits of being here live with us in the Zoom at dailywithDocZoom.com, Monday through Friday, most Mondays through Fridays, from 12 to 12 or 1 when we don't have Dr. Wallach with us, here on Daily with Doc. So folks, make sure that you mark your calendars and set your alarms to join us. If we don't have a Zoom, then the waiting room will let you know, but you can always jump on just to check and make sure if there is a live Zoom with us here on Daily with Doc. And we also have Sherry and Albert both doing a great job letting people into the room, making sure they're not sitting out there during the show for an unreasonable amount of time, and also watching the cameras to make sure that we have a safe environment for all, because we do want to make this a family-friendly event where people of all ages can come and learn without the distractions or worries. So I could not do this without my team. And folks, if you have skills that you would like to bring to a team, make sure that you get back with the person that shared this program with you. If there is nobody to thank, you are more than welcome to go to our website, which is actually the sponsor of this program, dailywithdoc.com, and send us an email. Use that contact option. Send us an email, and we will get back with you if you've got questions on what Dr. Wallach would recommend for you. Make sure that you include your gender, age, height, weight, your concerns, health concerns. If you have any prescriptions that you're taking or any conditions, not so much what the prescriptions are, but conditions that you're on a medication for, whether you're experiencing the symptoms or not. If the medication is masking them, you still have the symptom. Dr. Wallach likes to address the body as a whole, folks. So he looks at the big picture and then makes his recommendations based on that. You can get those questions asked through our website, again, at dailywithdoc.com. Use that contact option. We also send out an email once a week that goes through the replays of the previous week and descriptions to make it easier for you to be able to find past shows and know what the show is about, and then be able to share it with people that you feel would benefit the most. So share, share, share. I am still doing the giveaway, so you can go to dwdgiveaway.com. If you're on social media and you share our program, comment, do things that help us to promote this message. When you sign up for the giveaway, you can then make sure that you go through the little steps and get points. And those with the most points will then receive free product from myself and my team. So dwdgiveaway.com. We want to make sure that those who are doing the work and sharing are getting a thank you for doing so. So thank you so much, everybody. And I started to say, if you have talents that you want to contribute to a team, we're looking for more and more talent. As our team is growing and we have more and more projects going, there's always room for somebody else. And especially if you just have a heart for people, you want to share the message and get a thank you check for sharing the message, and people say, okay, sign me up. I want to change my health journey, or even be part of one of our associates and share. We're looking for people like you. There's an opportunity where you can take your passion for helping people and turn it into a thank you check to help your budget as well. So until next time, thank you so much for joining us here on Daily with Doc and Becca. My name is Becca Dukes, and to all of you watching, have a blessed day. Bye for now.